AMANITORE is the current archer garrison meta, and in today's video I'll be telling you everything you need to know about her. I'll go over skills, talents, pairs, equipment, and if she's even worth the investment. Okay everybody, if you're new here, welcome to the channel. I upload daily Rise of Kingdoms content, and I have been focusing on archers since I started the game about 2 years ago. As I said, we'll be discussing AMANITORE, and without further ado, let's just get right into her skills. So first we've got her active skill, 1300 direct damage factor to one target, and then you gain a 20% all damage boost for 3 seconds. So I really like the all damage, the 20% is really nice. It makes the second commander to her, so if you got a secondary, it makes their active skill deal more damage, and you're dealing more normal attack damage. So all of these things are really good. Now the only thing that's a bit lackluster there is the damage factor she's actually dealing. But I mean, it's not the worst considering she's getting that all damage and she's got more damage in her other skills. Then she gains 40% increased attack, just always, and then deals an extra 5% damage to infantry units, but takes 5% extra damage from cavalry. Now, I don't mind this skill because I think you're going to be hitting infantry a lot if you're using archers, so even though you're taking a bit more damage from cavalry, you're going to be wrecking all the infantry marchers, so it's kind of a fair trade-off. And of course, attacks, just free stats, so who can complain? Third skill, archers gain a 20% increased defense, and their attacks have 10% chance of dispelling all ongoing attack enhancements on targets when this commander is serving as a garrison commander. This dispel can trigger at most once every 10 seconds. So you gain 20% defense if you're a garrison, and then you have a 10% chance of dispelling all attack enhancements on whoever's rallying you. So just for an example, commander like Henry, see he's got this skill damage taken reduction. This is an enhancement. So if AMANITORE's skill triggers, that enhancement will be gone. Next, upon taking skill damage, deals direct damage factor 800 to up to 3 enemies in a forward-facing fan-shaped area. If this commander is serving as a garrison commander, troops also have 50% chance to deal another round of damage factor, 500, plus a 20% chance of a third round of damage factor, 400. Damage dealt to each targets reduced by 15%, yada yada. This skill can only trigger at most once every 10 seconds. This is, to my knowledge, the most revenge damage in the whole game, so kind of insane. It's probably the only thing that keeps her still somewhat usable on the field and in garrison. I do really like this skill and I think it's quite powerful, and it's definitely her top skill. Like 2,400 damage when you take any skill damage is insane. And then it's like up to 5,000 if everything was to trigger as a garrison and you hit 3 targets. Now her expertise, her most powerful skill, is making her completely immune to silence. So AMANITORE becomes completely immune to silence. And active skills reduce the target's rage by 100 per second for 2 seconds. This skill can trigger at most once every 10 seconds. So that 100 rage per second for 2 seconds means over 2 turns you're reducing the target's rage by up to 200. And with the way that rage capping works, you're basically reducing their rage cap. So if you can rage before them, and throw your active skill, and you reduce their rage, then they're not going to benefit from talents like Rejuvenate or if a horn triggers or any of those things. So that's really powerful. And Silence Immunity makes her very powerful with a few other commanders. Now what are the best skills for AMANITORE? Well, first, her active skill is really important. That all damage is nice, and obviously it's just damage factor. So we know with every commander, active skill is their most important skill. Then her second skill is nice, but it's not as important as her fourth skill. Her fourth skill is her second, probably her best skill actually. The damage she deals from this is insane, and it's really, really powerful. So like if you take AoE, for example, you're going to deal a boatload of damage straight back at your opponents. So keep that in mind when you're using her. Next, another thing I really do like with AMANITORE is her expertise, and I really think that if you're going to invest in AMANITORE, you have to max her. I like this rage reduction, and she needs to be silence immune for her best pair. So really, if you're going to AMANITORE, it doesn't matter what skills are her best skills, because you're going to end up expertising her. Otherwise, she's just not nowhere near as good as she should be, because she doesn't really pair well with any other commanders, in my opinion, than Artemisia, and Artemisia silences herself, so you need to be immune to silence. Now, before we discuss any AMANITORE pairs, let's quickly go over her main talent tree. So this is quite an easy to follow talent tree. So you want to go all in on this Whistling Arrows, because I don't think going all in on the support tree is worth it. I mean, you can go for reducing enemy march speed, but she's not really made to be a support march, so it's just one of those things that I don't really recommend. Also in the archer tree, you're getting more march speed, so I do like that as well. I also decided I would come down here and get emergency protection, because AMANITORE is always going to be taking skill damage, and if you're taking skill damage and dealing skill damage, I really do like having this, because also if it's like you take a primary skill to the face from like a Nevsky, then you'll reduce the secondary commander's skill damage by 15%. So I do really like that. The only issue with that is C Elixir. This is basically useless. And then the skill after that, this skill I wouldn't go for, that's also useless. But the siege stats here, if I were using a siege commander, are absolutely insane. But I'm not. The only thing you could consider is, I guess, if you don't want emergency protection, then you just don't go all in on this. So you skip everything here that I'm putting my cursor on right now. And then you go in and get Razor Sharp and Full Quiver. But I still think this is probably her better talent tree. Now, which pairs are good for AMANITORE? Well, simply put, Artemisia is her best pair. Artemisia silences herself, so AMANITORE is immune to that silence. So Artemisia also does area of effect damage, and AMANITORE is buffing herself to give herself more all damage. So if you have AMANITORE as primary, her skill will trigger, you'll get an all damage buff, and then Artemisia's skill will trigger, so you're dealing a ton of damage there, and Artemisia is very tanky. But the only issue with Artemisia is she has no march speed, and AMANITORE also has no march speed. So it's a high damage march, but they're very slow. So trying to get them as much march speed as possible is very important. That's why I do recommend going triple line formation on AMANITORE Artemisia and just trying to get as many march speed, like talented things as you can. Because see, if I got everything here to have march speed, I'd get like 10%, which is kind of insane. Now, equipment for AMANITORE is very much the same as other commanders. First, you have your Ring of Doom, stock standard. It's probably the most powerful accessory in the game. First of all, you're gaining a ton of all damage, and it's so much better than some of the other accessories like Greatest Glory or the Vengeance and stuff like that. So it's really the main accessory you should always have on about every march. Then Horn, of course, because you want to be gaining as much rage as possible with AMANITORE and Artemisia, because you really do want their active skills triggering as much as possible. Now, options that you may consider. Concealed Dagger, you should always have one of these in your murder ball regardless. And then Mora's Web, you should also have one of these in your murder ball. But, I mean, it's kind of tough between these two over like a Horn or over a Ring. So unless you don't have one of these already, then you're probably just better off with Horn or Ring. You could make the argument for 2 Mora's Webs or 2 Concealed Daggers, and I could agree to that. Because, I mean, having 2 means you could stack these up and keep the health debuff a little bit more often. Free-to-play accessories, much the same. The only thing I would change here is instead of getting a Delane's Amulet and Silent Trial, just get Silent Trial plus Call of the Loyal, because Call of the Loyal gives you as much march speed as possible, which is extremely important when you're using AMANITORE, especially since she basically has no march speed. So to get AMANITORE sculptures, there's 2 main ways. First of all, you've got the Mightiest Governor event. That's the only way to get her without the niche way I'm about to mention next. So she comes around in the Archer cycle every time, and she is the second commander just after Henry, so you select her by just switching whichever commander you want. And we know that's how you choose commanders in Season of Conquest. You can also get AMANITORE from the Orotark Tavern, so if you're going for the Orotark Tavern regardless, you do have a chance at getting her from there. And I mean, it's better than nothing, so there's only the 2 ways to get her, and even then, the Orotark Tavern's really rare to get a full AMANITORE. It's like 0.8% chance per open, so really, she's not the best, like, she's not the easiest commander to get, and she won't be coming to the daily special offer for quite a while, since the next commanders will be the next archers, which are Nebu and Cyrus. So what's my final opinion on AMANITORE? So I think she's really a one-trick pony, where she just deals a lot of damage, and has no march speed, she has no major debuffs besides her rage reduction, which I do like, and she only pairs well with really one commander, and that being Artemisia. So if you're a free-to-play low spender, unless you're going in for like 4 or 5 archer marches, then AMANITORE is a no. I don't think she's worth the investment. I don't think she really has a place in many murder balls at all, especially since she needs to be maxed. This is really the only commander besides like Edward and El Cid and stuff that I've given an absolute no to. So unless you're doing a garrison, then there's no point going for AMANITORE at the moment. Plus we have new commanders coming soon, so she's just not at that point where I think she's worth it. Like commanders such as Gilgamesh have debuffs, and Cyrus has debuffs, and Boudica and all these other commanders have debuffs. AMANITORE is pure damage. Yes, she's high damage right now. Yes, she may trade alright for now. But there's just so many way better options. And honestly, I think that you're better off investing in one of the newer commanders or a commander that has a debuff. If you're whaling though, then you can consider her for the rage reduction. She's alright as a debuff march, but even then, she's still probably only used for garrison. I do think she may pair well with the new commanders coming out, and I may have to do a video revisiting her after these new commanders release, because you never know, she may become a new meta march. But for now, I'm going to say a no to AMANITORE. Now, if you did enjoy this video, I have a card on the end screen where I have every single guide that I've made, so if you need to check on any other commander up until AMANITORE, I haven't done Boudica or Henry at this moment, but if you want to check on any other commander, cards on the end screen for the playlist where I go fully in depth on every commander in Rise of Kingdoms. Also, I've opened the Discord server for the Archer Syndicate group, so if you're interested in coming and interacting with the community, please do feel welcome to join. I'll always be there chatting with people, answering questions, and if I don't answer it, one of the fellow members of the group will, because we all are here to help each other out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.